and welcome to my channel. This is Sorcerer Tal. You can also find me on Facebook in the Sorcerer's Guild. Today, on the Sorcerer's Shadow, Volume 1, we are going to be discussing the essay, Awakening a Ka Spirit. Now, as you can see, my background's a bit different here today. I'm actually filming at the shop where I do small engine repair, because that is where I keep Boris. If you're a member of the Sorcerer's Guild, you will be familiar with the sigil on Boris. That is the cow sigil. It is made from the zodiac sign for Taurus and the rune Behu, and it's designed to promote wealth and abundance. Now, in the video, I go into great detail on how I created Boris in particular. And I will, of course, leave a link to the Google Docs essay of that. I will leave a link to the Google Docs copy of that essay in the description of this post, and it includes several more pictures of Boris in there. So since I've gone into great detail on that, I'm not going to dwell on how I created Boris exactly. Okay, so what is a Ka spirit? A Ka spirit is what is left over after a being dies. You can think of this as the lower soul, or your ghost. Like, when you die, there is your soul, that is your higher self, and all beings have a soul and a higher self. And according to my tradition, we could argue that, but that's not this video. That's not for this video. Okay, so when a body dies, the soul leaves the body. But while the soul is interacting with the body, there is an energy link that is created. This is, while you're alive, this is your aura, or your Ka, lower soul. It has many different names, but they're all essentially the same thing. It's all the energy that is attached to the body. And that is primarily anchored in the skull. So, when a being dies, the higher self, soul, leaves, but the lower soul remains attached to the body and just kind of slowly degrades over time if it isn't interacted with. So when you are awakening a Ka spirit, that is literally what you're doing. You are awakening it. You are awakening basically an energetic clone of what that being was in that lifetime. Now, you want to be careful that to use agreeable spirits, yeah? Because it's an exact copy of this actual bowl when it was alive. Now, I did add some additional stuff with the sigil work, and if you add any sigil work or anything that you want to alter that Ka with, you have to do it before the Ka is awakened. And we'll get into how it is awakened in just a second, but you want to use animals that haven't experienced any heavy trauma with humans, and if they have, you need to be prepared to calm them after you've awakened them. You need to be able to soothe them, because this is, like I said, it's an exact copy. It is going to react exactly like that particular animal did. You can also do this with human skulls, and you're going to get the exact person. So you wouldn't want to do this with an enemy, because these spirits are not bound to you. They are lower selves. They are ghosts that you have reinflated. If you put the right sigils on them, you can alter things about their behavior. But it will also be that being. You're just that altered in that way. So, on this subject as well, if you were doing this with a human skull, and you had, say, your grandfather, but you didn't want to evoke him necessarily as the grandfather that you knew as an old man, but you needed a soldier, and your grandfather was a great soldier in World War II or something like that, and for some reason you have his skull. It's an odd situation, but it's possible, right? Family lines, you know. But what you would do then, when you awoke in that skull, you wouldn't call him Grandpa, or whatever special name you had for your grandfather if you wanted him to be awoken as a soldier. You'd want to call him what he called himself when he was a soldier. You'd want to find out what his mates in his squad, I'm sorry, I don't know the proper terms, I'm not in the military, but you'd want to find out what his fellow soldiers called him, especially if they have a special nickname that they use for him during that time, because that will evoke that aspect. That will awake that portion of the Ka. Okay, so how do we awaken a Ka? Now, in the video, in the essay, I went into great detail about all the many steps that I went through to awaken Boris here. And that is very useful, yeah? The more steps you put into it, the more cohesive you create it, it helps. Especially if you were altering the original like I was in this case. But all that it takes to awaken the Ka is to reintroduce positive life force. A lot of times people use, in this case I use seeds and sprouting garlic, as well as my own breath. But ultimately, all you really need to do is introduce positive life force into this hole right here. On anything animal. In the original tradition where I was taught this, this is one of the things that was passed down to me. Obviously, they weren't calling it a Ka. Ka is an Egyptian word for the same thing, and I feel that it just fits better than what I was taught. I wasn't really given a word. I was just told there was a spirit in the skull that you could awaken if you blew in this hole. Traditionally, this is done with tobacco smoke by my people, or my ancestors, whatever you want to call that. I mean, clearly I'm a mix of a lot of things. But my great-grandfather, he blew tobacco smoke into here when he was awakening the spirit. And that's really all you need to do is blow the smoke into there. If it was a pet that had a name, you would then call it by its name and begin soothing the animal, petting it, bringing it back to life. If it was when you didn't know, you're still going to want to, after you bring it to life, you're going to want to link with it. You're going to want to reassure the animal that it is safe. And they are more easier to communicate with in a way than a live animal. Well, I mean, if you're able to hear spirits, they're able to understand a bit more because you're able to send them direct pictures. You don't have the language barrier that you do when the animal is alive. If you want to call it a language barrier, animals don't speak English or whatever. Well, if you're watching this video, you at least understand English. So yeah, animals don't understand English very well. So the spirits in some ways are actually easier to communicate with. And you want to maintain these spirits. Yeah, this is not something that you can just inflate and then ignore. These things will move around the house. You want to keep them entertained, give them offerings, little bits of whatever it is that they enjoyed in life. Like in this case, if it had been a regular setup, you would want to leave a little bit of hay for him occasionally, maybe some tobacco, stuff like that. In this case, I actually designed him to eat up the negative energy around any area that he's in and use that to create the abundance and stability. So he actually feeds off of negative energy because he's not designed to be... I don't live here at the shop. So I'm not here all the time to make sure that he's getting what he needs. So I set up a system so that he would eat up the negative energy and produce positive energy of abundance and stability. But like I said, we get into that in the video. I don't have a script today, as you can tell. Probably I'm rambling a bit. But anyways, you blow the positive energy into here and then begin communing with the spirit. Of course, if it was a human skull, you would want to give more direct offerings of whatever candies or foods that person enjoyed in life, alcohols. If they smoked, tobacco is often a good one. Really, even if they didn't, spirits, there's something about tobacco. There's a lot of different things, explanations as to why the spirits really like alcohol and tobacco, even those that didn't necessarily like it in life. But that's for another video. This is Horus. Sorry, like I said, no script today. So, after you awaken the Ka spirit, then you begin working with it. You want to keep it on your altar, keep acknowledging it over time, and like I said, really, you have to blow that positive life force in. My little brother had a coyote for many years that I actually awoken for him as a little boy, and it was part of his imaginary friends in a way, I suppose, because over time it did fade as he got older and stopped talking to it, and took it less seriously as he became an adult. But anyways, if you have any questions for me about what to do with your Ka, you can leave those in the comments. The type of animal that you choose, like obviously a boar or a bull is good for grounding and stability, stuff like that. If you wanted to create a scout, I actually have one at the house that is a mink skull. I brought her up in previous videos, Strid. Unfortunately, I don't have her with me because I'm here, and I wanted to have Boris in this video. But she is another type of Ka and more of a familiar. I will leave a video discussing her, leave a link to that here, and that will give you more of an idea of the types of things that you can do with a Ka spirit. And you want to pick the right types of animals. So the mink is a scout, and she helps me with fishing, stuff like that, and a hunter. She's a seeker, and that's why I picked the mink. You got a bull, it's good for grounding, stability. If you wanted something to be clever, you could get a fox, guardian. You could use a bear or a wolf. Now, again, don't go buy a wolf skull from someone that's trapping wolves in the wild and putting them wolves with serious trauma. You're not going to like the result. You're very unlikely to like the result. You want to be gifted these skulls, as in find them, things like that. Certainly don't go kill a wolf and make one of these things. You're just asking to have an angry spirit in your house. You want poltergeist? That's how you get poltergeist, yeah? Okay. Anyways, I think that's going to be it for this video. Thank you once again for joining me. If you haven't subscribed to my channel, please take the opportunity to do so now. And until next time, bright blessings and an interesting fate. This has been Sorcerer Tao.